I threw my husband a surprise party for his promotion. As he walked in, everyone cheered, except his mother, who whispered loudly, "Promotion or not, she still brings shame to our family." I froze. My husband kissed her on the cheek and said, "You're the only one who truly believed in me." Later that night, he opened my gift, looked at it, and said, "You should have asked her first. She knows me better." Let me tell you what happened the night I realized I didn't have a husband. I had a man who used me as a stepping stone. A man who saw me as background noise while his mother ran the show. My name's Heather. I'm 38. I live in Naperville, Illinois now, but I'm from Rockford. I met Jake at a friend's New Year's party about 10 years ago. He was smooth. The kind of guy who remembered the color of your dress weeks later and texted good morning every single day. I thought he was rare. We got married 3 years after we met. It wasn't always bad. There were years where I felt loved. But things changed slowly after the wedding. Little things. Fewer thank yous. Less time. Fewer smiles. But I held on. That's what people do, right? Jake works in finance. He made partner at his firm last month. That's a big deal in his world. He'd been grinding for it non-stop. Late nights, canceled dinners, short replies, no affection. I thought he was under pressure, so I kept cheering him on. I told myself we'd get back to normal once he got what he wanted. To celebrate his promotion, I planned a surprise party. I used my savings to rent out a nice little lounge in downtown Chicago. Not too big, not flashy. Just enough to make him feel seen. I invited coworkers, old friends, and yes, his mother. That woman. Evelyn. Evelyn is the reason I sometimes stared at the bathroom mirror during holidays wondering if I was good enough. She's sharp-tongued, cold, and always dressed like she's going to court. She didn't even fake liking me. From day one, she made it clear I wasn't her idea of a wife for her son. I overheard her once, at our rehearsal dinner, telling one of her cousins that I wasn't what she prayed for. Still, I kept trying. She's his mother, I told myself. And Jake? He never defended me. He'd say, "She's just traditional," or "She doesn't mean it like that." At the party, everything looked perfect. Candles, appetizers, champagne. I had a cake made with his firm's logo on it, and a few of his coworkers actually clapped when they saw it. They knew I'd gone all out. I even made a short toast to him, thanking him for his hard work. When Jake walked in and we all shouted surprise, he froze at first. Then he smiled, barely. And the first person he went to? Not me. Evelyn. He hugged her like a little boy seeing his mom after school. She pulled him in close, kissed his cheek, and said loud enough for the two people next to her to hear, "Promotion or not, she still brings shame to our family." And Jake? He didn't say, "Don't talk about my wife like that." He didn't say, "That's uncalled for." He smiled, kissed her cheek back. "You're the only one who truly believed in me," he said. He meant it. I could tell. I was standing 10 feet away, holding a glass of champagne I hadn't even tasted yet. My cheeks were hot. I looked around, some people looked away. One of his coworkers gave me this awkward half-smile like, "Yikes." The rest of the night was a blur. Jake was charming. Laughing, clinking glasses, making jokes. I didn't hear him mention me once. After we got home, I handed him his gift. A leather watch with his initials and the engraving on the inside. "You never stop reaching. Proud of you always, H." He opened the box, stared at it for 2 seconds, and set it on the kitchen counter like it was something I found at a clearance bin. "You should have asked her first," he said. I thought I misheard him. What? He looked at me like I was annoying him. "She knows me better. She got me a Rolex last year." "You really thought this was it?" He walked off and went to bed. I stood there for an hour. Maybe more. I kept staring at the box. I thought about how I skipped lunches to save for that gift. How I planned every part of that party while he barely looked at me that night. How his mother humiliated me in front of people I invited. How he let her. Something inside me went quiet. Not sad. Not angry. Just quiet. I slept on the couch. And the next morning I started making a new plan. Not for a party. Not for a gift. This one was for me. Over the next few days, I acted normal. I still made coffee in the morning. Still packed his lunch. Still asked him how work was, even though I stopped listening. I wasn't being kind. I was gathering information. I started checking his phone when he was in the shower. I knew his passcode. It was Evelyn's birthday. Of course it was. What I found didn't shock me. Not at first. There were texts between him and his mom every day, sometimes all day. She sent him articles about how women like me trap men. About how a man's success depends on who he marries. She even sent him links to successful wives from church. Women who knew their place. He never pushed back. He never defended me. He usually replied, "You're right." Or worse, "I wish she was more like that." Then I found the messages between him and Allison. Allison was a new associate at his firm. Younger, fresh out of grad school. Pretty in a way that's effortless. I met her once at the firm's holiday party. She complimented my dress like she was reading it off a script. I remember the way Jake looked at her back then. The texts between them weren't full-on sexual, but they were close. She called him Jake the Great. He called her ally. She told him she loved their late-night talks. He told her he wished they could talk without rules. One message from her said, "Bet your wife wouldn't get it if we grabbed dinner sometime." He replied, "She doesn't get a lot of things." That one hurt. I didn't confront him right away. I didn't scream or cry. That's not me. That's not how I win. I started keeping a notebook. I wrote down every late night, every text I found. I took photos. I printed receipts. I started quietly separating our finances. Opened my own checking account. Pulled half of what was in our joint. He didn't even notice. Too busy with partner life. I made copies of everything and sent them to a lawyer I found online. She was sharp and fast. Said I had a solid case for emotional abuse and maybe even infidelity if I could dig a little deeper. So I did. One night, he left his laptop open. I shouldn't have, but I checked his email. That's where I found the receipts for a hotel in Oak Brook. One night, one room, just him and a Monroe. That was her last name. I didn't need confirmation, but I got it anyway. I printed that too. Still, I said nothing. Then came Evelyn's birthday dinner. She insisted it be at some fancy restaurant in downtown Wheaton. Jake begged me to come. Said it would mean a lot to his mother. I wore red. A deep, bold red dress she would hate. Tight enough to remind him I wasn't invisible. Dinner started cold. Evelyn picked apart the menu, made a snide comment about my lipstick. Jake said nothing, but I smiled through it, because I had something planned. After dessert, the waiter came over with a wrapped box and said, "This is from Mrs. Heather." Everyone looked confused. Evelyn opened the box. Inside was a framed photo. A screenshot of the hotel reservation confirmation. Jake's name. Allison's name. The date. The time. Evelyn went pale. She looked at Jake, then at me. Jake choked. "What the hell is this?" I sipped my wine. "Oh, just a small token. I figured since Evelyn always wants to be in our marriage, she should know what she's defending." Allison didn't even try to hide it. She texted him the next day. "I know because I saw it." "You said she was clueless." "Guess not." I didn't talk to Jake for 2 days after that dinner. Then he came into the kitchen while I was making coffee. "You humiliated me," he said.
No, irrablia.
"You did that. I just gave your audience a better view." He begged. He apologized. He even cried. Said it was just emotional. Said he never actually cheated. I stared at him, calm as stone. "That doesn't matter. I'm done being second to your mother. And I'm sure as hell not gonna compete with a 27-year-old you call after hours." He asked if we could go to therapy. I told him we could go to court. He didn't believe me. So I gave him the card my lawyer handed me weeks ago. Jake didn't call the lawyer right away. He did what cowards always do, he stalled. He started bringing me flowers like that would fix it. He made dinner one night badly. Tried to kiss me in the hallway like nothing had happened. I didn't respond. I didn't even flinch. The man didn't know me anymore. Maybe he never did. A week after the dinner disaster, Evelyn called me. I let it go to voicemail. Then she showed up at my job. I work at a local design studio in Naperville, small place, mostly residential clients. I was working on a mock-up for a kitchen remodel when the front desk buzzed me. "There's a woman here. She says she's your mother-in-law?" I told them to let her sit. She walked in wearing heels too tall for her age, a tailored coat, and a face like she smelled something rotten. "Are you proud of yourself?" she hissed, the second we were alone in the break room. "Very. You embarrassed him. Your husband."
No.
"Your son embarrassed me." Repeatedly. She crossed her arms and narrowed her eyes. "You think you'll get anything from this? You think you're walking away with half?" That's when it clicked. That's why she was here. "Jake told you I'm filing," I said flatly. She didn't answer, but her silence was loud. "Let me guess. You helped him with the prenup." She gave a small, smug smile. I smiled wider.
Good.
I already had it reviewed. That wiped the smug off her face. The truth was, yes, there was a prenup. It had some clauses that would make things harder but not impossible, especially after what I found next. 2 days later, my lawyer emailed me. "You'll want to see this." She had hired a private investigator after the hotel receipt came up. I didn't ask her to. She just did it, said it might help in case things got ugly. Turns out Allison wasn't the only one. Jake had a pattern. Bars during client dinners. Female coworkers who transferred departments after things got uncomfortable. One woman even had an HR complaint on file from 2 years ago. Settled quickly. Quietly. My lawyer called it a gift. That weekend, Jake left town for a company retreat. He didn't know I already knew where he was going. Lake Geneva. With Allison. This time, I didn't print screenshots. I didn't send photos. I packed 2 bags. One with my clothes. One with copies of everything. When he came back, I was gone. I left him a note on the counter. By the time you read this, I've already filed. The evidence is with my lawyer. Tell your mother she raised a man who needs a secretary, not a wife. I am neither. I moved into a friend's guest house temporarily. Peaceful. Quiet.
Free.
3 days later, Evelyn called again. This time, I picked up. "I hope you're proud of destroying this family." "No, Evelyn. I'm proud of surviving it." She hung up. But she wasn't done. Because a week later, I got a letter. Not from Jake. From her lawyer.
She was suing me.
The letter said Evelyn was suing me for emotional damages and defamation of character. I laughed when I read it. Not because it was funny, because it was insane. She claimed that I'd ruined her reputation by sharing private family matters in public. That I caused her distress and humiliation by showing that hotel receipt at dinner. That I slandered her name by telling people Jake cheated. She wanted an apology, a retraction, and money. Money. That's what it was always about. My lawyer rolled her eyes when she saw the letter. "She doesn't have a case," she said. "This is scare tactics. Designed to make you back down." But I didn't back down. I went the other way. I told my lawyer to file a counterclaim. Intentional infliction of emotional distress, targeting behavior, and interference in my marriage. And I had proof. Texts. Voicemails. Emails where she called me a parasite and an anchor around Jake's neck. And then I made a choice I don't regret, but I admit it changed everything. I went to HR at Jake's firm. I handed over the folder with Allison's texts, the hotel receipts, the photos, and a printed statement from one of the women who left after her run-ins with Jake. I told them I wasn't doing it for revenge. I just didn't want any other woman to go through what I did. They thanked me, and they promised to look into it. Jake was suspended 3 days later. Pending internal review. Evelyn called me again. This time, she screamed. Said I'd ruined her son. Said I was a bitter, jealous, ugly woman who would die alone in some rental. I stayed silent until she finished. Then I said, "You raised him." And I hung up. When the court date came for the divorce, Jake showed up looking like a man who hadn't slept in days. He looked older.
Smaller.
Worn down. He tried to speak to me before the hearing. Heather, please. We can fix this. I looked him in the eye for the first time in weeks.
No, Jake.
You broke something that doesn't heal. And your mother helped. The judge looked over the evidence. He read the messages, the HR report, the complaint from the other woman. It wasn't just divorce anymore, it was damage control. Jake lost his promotion. He was offered a demotion or a resignation. He chose to resign. He moved back in with Evelyn. The lawsuit she filed against me? Thrown out. The counterclaim? Settled. She had to write me a check. Not much, but enough to make her choke when she signed it. Allison? She left the firm too. Quietly. Her name disappeared from their site a week later. As for me, I moved out of the guest house and into my own place. Small, peaceful, paid for with half the savings Jake forgot to hide, and a new job I started downtown.
Not in design.
I work in advocacy now, helping women leave bad marriages, build exits, protect themselves. I made mistakes. I stayed too long. I let too much slide. I put up with too many quiet betrayals. But I ended it on my terms. And if Evelyn ever wants to whisper about shame again, she'll have to do it from her son's basement, where he sleeps now, next to his regrets. I survived them both. And I'm never looking back.